Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Empowered Present podcast. And I am here today with the lovely Danni White, visibility strategist, and we're going to talk about something very important today. Something very important, okay, because this is a thing that I think we could all relate to. At least a lot of the people that I talk to, people probably in my generation. I don't know if it's generational, but we are sick of social media.
Yep.
It's been a love-hate relationship, right? Because I ran my entire resume business off of LinkedIn, let's be real, right? And so that's where I show up the most. And the Facebooks and the YouTubes and the Instagrams, and I built my membership off Instagram. Like, social media was a great way for me to make money. And so it's a no-brainer. Show up on social media if you want to build a brand, right? At the same time, it can be exhausting to try to keep up with all the things, to try to make sure that you're beating the algorithm, to be consistent. And then when we talk about consumption and making sure we're engaging, like, it's a lot. So Danny here has some tips and strategies for us so we can start to build our brands outside of that. Because at the end of the day, social media is wonderful, but it is not the end all be all, right? So let me tell you a little bit about Danny, and let's get some insight from her about how we could like leverage other things to build our personal brands. So Danny White is the CEO of DW Creative Consulting Agency. It's a digital marketing firm specializing in elevating the visibility of small to mid-sized businesses and nonprofits. She is the author of 17 books. 17 books. And she hosts the Hashtags and Habits podcast, which merges digital marketing, entrepreneurship, and personal growth. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, busy lady. I'm so happy that you were able to carve out some time to be with us today. Welcome.
Yes. Hi, Melanie. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity. And it's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So let's get into this topic today because I know for me, I definitely have taken a lot of social media breaks with no apologies. I'm like, I
Mhm.
really don't care. Like, y'all will still be here when I'm ready to come back. And so totally fine with building brands outside of social media, right? So tell me a little bit about your perspective on this topic about, you know, should we focus in on social media? Should we spread our efforts in different areas? As a digital marketing visibility strategist, what would you kind of recommend?
Sure. So I started out in content marketing way long back ago, 12, probably 15 years now, like way long ago. And so that was kind of like in the era of like MySpace, when MySpace was just coming out, and we had those one page like social landing pages, I would call them, and Tom was everyone's best friend, and all of those types of things. And so I started out in content marketing, where publishing, like digital publishing, was like the thing. If you were not writing in a publication, or you were not being published in someone's publication, um, it was the thing to do back then. I think now that social media has kind of like taken this front seat over the past couple of years, I think people have rushed towards it and tried to build their platforms. And granted, a lot of people have succeeded. Like you said, they've made money, they've built memberships, they've built communities, they built their entire business on social media. But what I'm finding, as people are becoming a little bit more honest with their stories, is that social media has kind of like drilled down on all of that stuff. It's not the platform that it used to be anymore. It's a business. They want to run ads, and they want to make money from ads. And if your content is not pushing people towards their ads, then your content is not going to be shown. And that's kind of what the algorithm has proven. I think that keeping up with the social media trends can become a lot for a lot of, especially small business owners. Like, if you're wearing many hats in your business, like you don't have time to be keeping up with the trends that come out every other day. Like now there's a trend on TikTok where this creator is talking about being very demure and very mindful and very classy, and like everyone is jumping on that trend. So, it works for that 24 to 72 hour period where the thing is new and everyone is jumping on it. But then beyond that, like you have to keep coming up with something new. And so I think that's the thing that business owners are like very, very stressed out about. Like, don't nobody have time to keep up with all that. So for me, what I've been doing with a lot of my clients, or at least the clients that want to build their visibility, is coming up with other ways outside of social media to grow their brand and to target their particular audience that they need to target. And there are so many ways that we've come up with that actually work. I think that they don't get the spotlight like social media does, but they actually are efficient. They work, and they're a little bit more long lasting than social media.
Mm, interesting, interesting. And I know what you're saying. It's like this pay to play now, right? Where they
Yes.
prioritize the advertisers who are, you know, spending
Hmm.
millions. But also I back in the day when Facebook was the Facebook.com and
Hmm.
you had to have a college
Email ID.
email address, right? There
Yes.
was no algorithm. You just got on there and you saw it in order. Hey, this person posted this person. So simple, right?
Yeah.
So straightforward. Now it's like curated for you to make you addicted and like all of these things.
Hmm.
And like,
Yeah.
so I know social media is not just about posting for business, right?
Hmm.
Posting is cool, but it can only get you so far. You're going to need to engage to really start to build that visibility more.
Absolutely.
And so
Yeah.
for that, you're going to have to scroll. And sometimes the scroll is where it gets dark.
Yep. Because you don't know what you're scrolling into. Like it's whatever that they have decided to put up there that day, right? So you don't really know like what you're scrolling into. But the reason why I'm not against social media, but I'm not 100% for it. Like I'm never create a social media strategy and tell someone like this is all you need to do to build your business or build your brand or build your visibility, right? Because social media in and of itself is a full-time job. If you are trying to grow on social media, you have to post. Now you have to post on multiple pages because this is what the algorithm has chosen as the thing that they are using to see what content is meaningful. So like let's take this episode for example. If we were to chop this up into 8 different video clips, well, I wouldn't want to post them all on one page. I would create 4 different pages and post them on 4 different pages just to see which one pulls pulls against the algorithm, right? Engagement, you have to find posts that you to engage with, and you got to be engaging with 20, 30, 40 people a day. That's a full-time job. If you're running ads, that's a whole nother job within itself, right? Coming up with keywords, analyzing keywords, changing the copy, A/B testing the copy. What visuals work, what visuals don't work, who's the audience, those types of things. And if most of us don't have the time to do all that, so we just post and pray for the best.
Ghost. Ghost and ghost.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I love that you brought that up because I'm also not against social media. Like I said, I built two good, very good businesses on social media, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, but the thing is, like you said, you got to be on it if
Yeah.
you really want those results, right? You got to be
Hmm.
on it, and it's not like you could just throw a post up and be like, "Yeah, I got mad clients." Like that's just not how it works.
It's not
And I
how it
think
works. Yeah.
that's why social media is like I have this love hate because it can be draining. Honestly, some days I get on social media and I know I'm like, all right, let me do my engagement for the day.
Hmm.
I'm like, I don't care what none of y'all talking about today. I don't care about none of this right now. I'm
Yeah,
not, I don't care. I don't want to.
for
I
sure.
don't want to comment. Leave me alone.
Yep.
That's just the
Yep.
reality some days, right? And so it can get daunting and it can get overwhelming. And also, I feel like you said before, you don't know what you're gonna be scrolling into. And a
Yes.
lot of times we could get triggered by
Hmm.
things, right? And, I know for me personally, I have been triggered several times on social media over the years to where I'm now
Yeah.
looking at myself like, girl, do you even know what you're doing?
Yeah.
Why are you here? You don't know what's going on. Right?
Hmm.
All of that because I consumed something that triggered these limiting beliefs in myself and giving me self-doubt and all of these things. And so it's very,
Yeah.
very important to be able to monitor and really control what you're taking in. And that's difficult to do with how social media works now.
Yes, that is true. I mean, if you're just on the app for without an intention, um, without knowing like, okay, I'm gonna open this app, I'm gonna do XYZ, and then I'm gonna move on to other things in my day, that you're just bound to go to an endless, bottomless pit of whatever is there, right? It's just they're gonna serve that algorithm's gonna serve you whatever it wants to show you, right? And if you're not in the headspace to see those things, or you're not clear enough on like what your personal goals are in life, then I mean, you open yourself up for really anything. And I think there's so much trauma and violence in the world today that it's so easy for just to see one thing, and it changes your whole outlook on the day or the week, right?
Yeah.
um for me, I mean, I'm more of that, just post, see a few things, and I'm off. So that's just my personal way of dealing with social media these days. But for a lot of people, like, that's, they scroll a lot. And the app itself, a lot of the apps are built on time on the app, right? That is how they can get more advertising dollars. So the more people that are on the app, more people that are seeing your content. That's why TikTok and Instagram have kind of expanded the amount of time that you can upload a reel, from like 30 seconds to 60 seconds to 90 seconds. And I think now on TikTok you can upload for, is it 10 to 15 minutes or something like that? Because the more time people spend on that content, the more advertising dollars that they can get. If we keep in mind that Facebook, Meta, as I should call it, TikTok, all of these places, they're running a business. They're not like, this is not a hobby for them. They're running a business. So at the end of the day, the numbers on the bottom of that profit and loss sheet is what matters. They don't really care about the actual content you're publishing. They don't really care about the people who are watching themselves. They care about the advertising dollars. And so if you can just switch your brain a little bit to consider the fact that these people are running a business just like you're running a business, right? And for us, we might care a little bit more about our customers, but these big behemoth companies, they don't care about their customers. They care about the bottom line. And the bottom line is how many zeros are behind that decimal. And so if we can keep that in mind and not feed into like the trends or the algorithm changes and all of those things, I think we'll be just in a better headspace and have better mental clarity around ourselves, our businesses, and what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, I love that. Definitely. And I also feel like, what you said about how it's a business for them. Have
Hmm.
you ever seen The Social Dilemma, that documentary? It was on
I
Netflix a
haven't.
few years back.
I have not. No.
You or anybody listening, watch that. Watch that.
Okay.
It's a documentary about basically how all these social media sites work on the back
Hmm.
end and how they're deliberately like monitoring us to make sure we're on the app and giving us prompts to get back on. Like it goes deep. It goes
Yep.
very deep. So
Yeah.
definitely watch that. And so, all right. Now let's I mean, I think we kind of beat that to death. Like, yeah, social media is eh. So what can we do? What are some things that we can use to build our brand outside of social media?
So there's a plethora of things that we can use. The first one that I go to because it's kind of the easiest in my opinion is email. So if you are posting on social media, or you're creating content, or you're having consultation calls with people, or people are booking calls into your funnel, one of the easiest ways to keep connecting with them is through email. The majority of the time, if they're downloading something, or if they're booking a consultation, they're putting in their email address at some point in that funnel. And so it's up to you to have a system. You can have a simple system like MailChimp or Constant Contact, Active Campaign. They have simple plans where you can start collecting email addresses and create a system for yourself where you're either sending a newsletter every month or whatever that cadence is, however frequently you want to be in contact with those people. And just start doing that on a routine and have your email list to grow. And even when you're posting on social media, have that call to action to be for more information, sign up for my email list or sign up for XYZ thing, whatever that is. I think people underestimate email a lot, but just think about our inboxes and how full they are. It's because email still works. Email still works. It works more than telemarketing. It works more than texting. It even works more than social media because email is right there in your face. Social media, we can scroll and we can forget, right? But email is right there. It's right there in your face. Even on texting, we can see it one time and then more messages will keep coming in. But emails are, then even now in email providers, there's reminders of like, you received an email 3 days ago. Do you want to open it or do you want to reply? You haven't opened an email in 30 days. Do you want to stay subscribed or unsubscribed? Their email has evolved in a way that I feel is very intelligent. And if you can capitalize on that, that's your better bet to grow your audience. Um,
Mm.
I have an email newsletter, and I enjoy writing the emails more than I enjoy posting on social media. Right? I enjoy writing the emails because it's something that like is personal to me, and I think my audience, they can feel that the my personal stories or my personal thoughts and opinions coming out, and they're still getting something from it, right? So email, definitely get your email list together, start collecting people's emails, and start sending them. Don't just collect them and put them in a provider and just let it sit there, but start communicating with them, start connecting with them, start presenting your brand to them in a way that's like non-salesy, but that benefits them and adds value to their life.
I love that.
Definitely email for sure.
Yeah, I mean, just ask Fashion Nova.
Right, exactly. Sheen, Fashion Nova,
Shein,
they
Walmart,
do not
Target,
fail.
all of
Yes,
them. They gonna
they
blast you to death
yes, they will send you 2 to 3 emails a day
a
just
day.
so that you understand that they are still there. They have things to sell. They want you to buy. And there's a reason that they do that. Now, you don't have to email people 2 or 3 times as a small business owner a day, but email is important. It's very important.
Love that. Yeah. No, so here's my question, because what are some ways to now get people on your email list outside of social media? Are there some other ways, if we want to try to just kind of put social media on the back burner? Yeah, we could post over there, but like, are there other ways to actually get people onto the list besides posting a post on Facebook or LinkedIn?
Yes. So let's say you have a website and you have a blog attached to that website. Let's say you write a blog post every week and you publish it. I'm going to imagine that you're putting some search engine optimization behind it, some keywords, some meta descriptions, meta titles, for people to find that piece of content. You can always track how many people are going to that particular page through Google Analytics, or Google Search Console. And at the end of that blog post, your call to action would be for more information, sign up for my email list. And it's literally right there. You can also put your newsletter banner on the homepage of your website for people that are already coming to your website. Or if you are producing something like the podcast, like you're producing the podcast every week, that's a weekly opportunity for people to sign up for your email list. Let's talk about the podcasting in general. In the show notes, you can always put a link to at the end of the episode for more information. The link is in the show notes. Go subscribe to the newsletter, right? Because at each touch point, you are reaching a certain number of people, right? So let's say that you have 100 people to download this episode once it's published. You still want those people to take the next step. You don't want them to just listen to the episode and then like do nothing, right? So that next step could be go and sign up for my email list. Um, If you're, let's say you're speaking at an event, and at the end, typically there is like a way to work with you or a way to connect with you. Signing up for the newsletter could be the way. Um, webinars are really good at this. So if you are promoting a webinar, let's say for in 3 weeks, a webinar is coming up and you're promoting it for those 3 weeks, that is a built-in way that you're already getting emails. So just go, you add them to your email list, right? There's so many ways to get people's email addresses. We just have to be very like mindful and thoughtful about it.
Love it. Yes, 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 yes. Awesome. Okay. So now when it comes to some of these other ways, you mentioned email, you mentioned podcasting, you mentioned a blog. Are
Mhm.
there any others? Like, what would be some of the ways in which you help your clients to build visibility? Because as we all know, everybody doesn't have social media, right?
Yes, for sure.
So, yeah. Tell me a little bit
Yeah.
about what you would recommend for your clients who says, "I don't do social media. I just can't," right? We've all heard some of these folks. "I just
Yes.
can't." So,
Yep.
what would you recommend as, like, your top, I guess, recommendation?
So definitely though, definitely those three. Email for one, podcasting because it's a different format and you're reaching a different audience. So people who don't want to read, typically they'll listen to something or they'll watch something. So that's why I recommend like putting, if you have a podcast, convert it to an MP4 or some type of video and put it on YouTube because YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, right? People are either going to search on Google or they're going to search on YouTube for what they're trying to find. um, that's how like you start to grow your visibility by finding OPA, other people's audiences, and YouTube opens up the door for another audience. The third thing that I recommend is pitching yourself to speak about your topic, whether that's on other people's webinars, other people's podcasts, other people's events. It could even be like your local chamber event. I have gotten a number of speaking engagements from just my local chamber, right? Being a small business owner, being a local small business owner, they often have events every week, every other week that you can join the chamber, find out these opportunities, present yourself as an expert on that topic, and start to open up your calendar or your consultations for the people that are local to you. That's one way, and then another way is through partnerships and collaborations. Um, Finding as you go about your day, either joining local chambers or joining other local events or partnerships or those types of things, you'll find people that you'll want to partner with or who want to partner with you. And partnerships and collaborations can be another way to just open up your brand or your business to another person's audience that you might not otherwise be able to reach. I think it takes a little bit more, it's a slower process, but once you get into the collaboration with someone, you kind of know that person knows you, that you know their audience a little bit, they know your audience a little bit, and you both can do half of the work but get the full result. I feel like a lot of times we don't take advantage of partnerships because it feels like a lot of work, especially when you don't know that person. But that is the whole point of collaborations, to get to know that person and see if there is an opportunity. Um, Another thing that I try to get some of my clients to do, and it's a hard sell, but it works, is writing content for other people's websites. So if you can join communities like the Forbes Council, if you can join communities like the Entrepreneur Leadership Network, it's Entrepreneur Magazine's Leadership Network. If you can join Inc. Magazine's Contributor Writing Portal, if you can join these networks and start to pitch your ideas in a way that's relevant to their audience, you could start to write content. They'll accept your content, and you'll get a higher level of traffic to that content because people already recognize their domains. Inc.com, everyone knows that. Forbes.com, everyone knows those domains. Those domains have a higher domain authority. And once you feed them a piece of content with your byline, your name, your company's name, your social media links or website links where people can learn more about you. That's an easier way for to open up yourself to a whole new audience. Um, there's so many like different ways to do it. I think that it for a lot of business owners is just like finding the time to do each of these segments and then finding which ones are going to work well for you. Um, I can't tell you like, okay, you should just do email or you should just start a podcast, right? You have to find like which one is going to work. And it might be that you have to test each one of these out before you get to say, okay, 90 days in, I want to do email every week. I want to do a podcast every other week. And I want to pitch to one magazine a month or something like that, right? You create a plan for yourself and then you start doing it.
Yeah. And I think, what I typically tell my clients is you have to show where your people are, right? Where your
Yes.
audience hangs out. And
Hmm.
then you want to show up where it feels good to you. So for
Yes.
me, for example, I hate Facebook. Hate's a strong word, but I'm over it. So I deactivated
Yeah.
my Facebook page last September. Oh my goodness, it's going to be a year. And so I don't show up over there
Yeah.
just because I don't want to. But also it's fine because my people are on LinkedIn, so it works out. But there
Yeah.
needs to be a nice like mix, a good balance of where you want to show up and where your people are,
I
right?
agree.
You
Yeah.
don't want to just show up where you love TikTok, but your audience is not there. Then
Hmm.
you're gonna be showing up, having a good time with no sales, no leads, no, whatever you're
Yeah.
looking for. So definitely, think that that's a good point you brought up about just kind of figuring out how you want to do this, but base it on you, but also your people, your target
Yes.
audience.
Yes.
And
And
then
I think,
also, oh, I was sorry. I was just gonna
no,
say
go ahead.
also how you want to show up, right? So you mentioned blogging. Well, if you don't like to
Mhm.
write, baby, don't even bother with it.
That's true.
you know, if you
That's
if
true.
you can't stand your own voice, you might need to get over that.
Yeah.
But maybe you're not ready to do podcasts. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And if you hate video, then going live may not be it. So you just also need to make sure that you're again able to show up in your most confident self to be able
Yes.
to get whatever the result is. Because if you're doing it and you don't want to do it, the energy is going to be way off. And
Yeah.
people are going to pick up on that stuff. So be true to who you are. Goes back to what I talk about all the time in terms of authenticity, right?
Yeah.
Knowing who you are and how you show up best and how where you jive the most. Um, jive. Um, Allow that to kind of help lead your decision making when it's time to actually show up. So go ahead. What
For
were you gonna
sure.
say?
Yes. And I think with the next, so people might have a question of like, how do I know my target audience? Which is an
Mm,
entirely different exercise. So I think that's one of the reasons why people feel they have to show up everywhere because at their core, they don't really know who their target audience is. They don't really know who they're actually speaking to, right? So for me, I know that I'm speaking only to small business owners. I'm not speaking to C-level executives. I'm not speaking to people who don't have a business. I'm not speaking to your just average person who wants to like turn their hobby into a. I'm not speaking to those people. I'm speaking to small business owners who have an established business. They work in their business 30 or more hours a week. They might have a small team. That's my target audience, right? So I'm going to show up in the places where those people are existing or they're looking for information. And I think if you don't know who your target audience is, that is an opportunity for you to take a step back and understand like what is it that you're selling first, and then who is interested in what you're selling, because it could be that you have a great product but you're just showing up in all the wrong places because your people are not there. It could be that your people are interested in you as a person, but they're not interested in what you have to sell. Maybe because you're an interesting person, maybe because your delivery is great, they like your personality, those types of things, right? So then you have to take like whatever is working and kind of parlay that into something that will be profitable for you. Because I mean, what is a business if you're not making money, right? I think there we can go on and on about target audience because I have a whole like diatribe about target audience,
Yeah.
and how you don't always have to target one specific audience. It could be that you have three products that are really, really great, and they each target a specific audience that are not the same. But it could be that you just need to focus on one product and one audience and make that successful, right? But finding out who that audience is might be a little bit of trial and error. I think there's no rule book. There's no like, this is who how sorry, this is how you do XYZ. But I think if you could take a step back and define who that audience is and what you're actually selling and how it aligns to their needs in the sales funnel, that could be that you could easily find like, okay, in this ecosystem, maybe I should be doing email and I should be doing a podcast and I should be doing content writing. So yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, not to go, off course with this, but I want to say a few words about that target audience thing because I think at the end of it's like I had an audience problem, right?
Mhm.
So when I was writing resumes, I was targeting executives and aspiring executives. That was pretty much my audience. And that was, red, yellow, black, and white. And when I decided to switch to serving women of color who are looking to build a personal brand, I needed a whole new audience. And I'm there screaming it from the hilltops, yeah, build your brand, women of color, to the same
Yeah.
people, to the
Yep.
same list, to the same LinkedIn audience. And it's like, girl, this is not your people.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
had to recognize, like, oh, my bad. Y'all aren't my people. So let me go find my people, right? And so that was a lesson for me for sure in making sure that you're speaking to the right people because that will really make you feel, inadequate, self-doubt, like nobody wants my thing. I'm not
For
worthy.
sure.
But it's just an audience problem. It's okay. Like just
Yeah.
make sure you're talking to the right people, right? So
Yeah.
love that you brought that up. I would love to know a little bit more about you and your story. Like, tell me about how you were able to build your own personal brand because, ooh, child, does Miss Danny have a brand? Okay. I mean, the the link is in the the link is in the show notes of all of her accolades, all of her features, all of her content. Like, she's all over the place. So when it comes to visibility, baby, she's definitely figured it out. So I would love to know how you got to this point. Like, how did you build your own personal brand? Where did you start? What were some struggles maybe that you had to overcome? What did you learn?
Sure. I think one of the things that, and I always go back to like content writing days because even as a kid, I enjoyed writing in general. I wrote a whole lot of things that would never see the light of day, but I wrote poetry, music, short stories, long form stories. Like I wrote a lot of things as a kid. And part of that was because we moved around a lot growing up. And so that I was never really in like a stable school environment. Didn't have a whole lot of friends. And so books and writing became like my friends. And then as I got older, I kind of found ways to like, okay, how do I share like what I'm writing with other people? How do I write more? How do I write better? How do I get other people to like give me feedback about what I was writing? And so that's kind of when I shifted gears from like just doing personal writing to doing more content marketing and content writing for other publications. And so that's where like people would give me an outline and they would say, okay, you write on this topic, or you go interview this person and write a story about it, or you go find a person to interview on this theme and topic, which is what Ink Magazine did a lot. They had like themes and topics they would want to write about for their upcoming issue, and then they would say, okay, this is assigned to you. Now you go find a person to write about who is, skilled in this particular field. And so that was an interesting concept of like people who have stories that they want to tell about themselves or about their business or about challenges that they've overcome and how they parlay that into a 500 word piece of content while you're getting all the information at the same time. So that's kind of where I like hone my writing skills. And I credit Inc. Magazine a lot for that because I used to write very long, like diatribes of things. And they would tell me, like, you cannot, people are not going to read this amount of content. People are not going to read 1,500 words. And so keep your writing to 500 to 750 words because people will get from the top to the bottom and they'll get the whole story. And that's one thing that I still kind of struggle with because I tend to write long things even when I'm scripting my podcast. Like I tend to just write and go on and on and on and on, and like people don't have time to even listen to that long piece of thing that you wrote. And so once I moved out of Inc. Magazine, I started working in B2B tech marketing, and my entire job was content, generating leads through content and going through that entire cycle of once you produce a piece of content, how do you distribute that content and how do you help that piece of content find the right audience and that audience find that piece of content, right? And then for the business, obviously businesses only care about the bottom line most of the time. So that content needed to generate either leads or outcomes for the particular business. And so that's kind of like my journey into like content and personal brand building. Once I figured out how to make content efficient and relevant for a particular audience, then I just started doing a rinse and repeat cycle. I would go to as many publications as I could, pitch a particular topic. Once I knew the formula, like I knew it was going to be accepted, so I would just find all the magazines, like all the digital publications within a particular theme, and would just pitch to them endlessly. Like I'm sure editors were like tired of hearing seeing my name in their email boxes. But I got a lot of publishing opportunities that way, and that's kind of how I built like my own personal brand through that, being able to write and pitch in different ways and creating the bylines for myself that I knew would be acceptable, right? And I feel like that has been a way and a spinoff of how I've been able to create the podcast, how I've been able to create my email newsletter. That has led to like speaking engagements and opportunities on other people's platforms and in front of other people's audiences. And once I was able to just know that content writing is like my thing, like I can do it all day, it kind of has led to like all these other opportunities. So you might see a lot of things online, but it all stems from content writing because writing is my passion. Like I enjoy writing. I enjoy creating new pieces of content. And I've learned to enjoy the process of distribution over time. And I've
Right.
gotten better at it because that's where the money is.
Right. Love that. So basically, it sounds like you just made a big old digital footprint.
Yes. Yeah.
Really. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's so interesting about this? I had a marketing coach at one point. Her name Audra Richmond. I don't know if you've heard of her, but um
Why do I
I
feel like that name
remember.
is familiar?
Yeah, she's everywhere. She's all over the place. She's phenomenal marketing. Uncloned marketing is her brand. And so I was in her membership, and it was a joke because I think I asked Alexa, who is Audra Richmond? And then Alexa's rattled off all these things. And I was like, who is Melanie Denny? And Alexa was like, I don't know that person. I was like, dang, I ain't nothing. I
Yeah.
don't know nobody. And so when I was in Michigan this past summer, I was like visiting my mom and sisters and stuff. And I said, Dear, I call my mom, ask Alexa who I am. What? I said, ask Alexa who I am. She was like, oh, Alexa, who is Melanie Denny? And then Alexa started rattling off, Melanie Denny is a career expert. Da, da, da. And she was like, how did you do that? So if you want to know if you have arrived, I'm just playing.
Yeah.
Ask Alexa who you
Ask Alexa.
But basically, I was telling her, Alexa just pulls information from the web.
Yeah.
So if you have, information about yourself online, Alexa will be able to know who you are. And then you could
Absolutely.
be
Yeah.
like, hey, family, ask Alexa who I am. Right. And so yeah. So I love that you you did that deliberately, right? Like you were like, I'm going to pitch. And so now your name is all over these internet streets,
Yeah.
right? And you Google Danni White, you got pages and pages. You Google Melanie L. Danny, you got pages and pages because I deliberately made sure to like put myself out there digitally,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
yeah, it can
And
be
I
done.
think I think also you can't be afraid to put yourself out there. It's not going to be perfect the first time around.
Oh
I
yeah.
think last year I tried to go back and find like my first like official online publication article. And it's not there was like two spelling errors there. It wasn't perfect, but it got done. And the more that you do something, the better it starts to get. Like once you pitch one time, the second pitch is going to be better. Third pitch is going to be better. 10th pitch is going to be better. 100th pitch is going to be better. I think I'm at like 450 pitches now. So now I have a pretty like straightforward, this is how the pitch is supposed to be. It's almost like a manual, right? But you gotta get to the 450. And I
Right.
feel like a lot of times we're either afraid to start or we're afraid of what people think, what people are going to think of us. Oh, they're going to think it's stupid. They're going to think we don't know what we're talking about. Well, most of us don't know what we're talking about. We're just out here winging it. Like, oh, we just all out here winging it, trying to make things
Everybody's winging
happen,
it.
right? And if we just let go of the fear a little bit and just do it, and I think what was helpful for me because I started this when I was like a teenager, and so by the time I was 22, I was like, okay, well, this is just how it goes, and it is what it is at this point, right? So just keep going, just start and keep going. And I think that's the biggest piece of advice that I could give to small business owners, especially when it comes to like visibility. Get the first piece out there, then get the second piece out there, then get the third piece out there. Yes, you're telling the same story over and over and over again, but every time you are refining it so that it gets better and more clear and more crisp, and even it gets more clear to you what I'm talking about, right? So it feels like a lot. It can feel difficult, but it really isn't difficult. Just get over the fear and get over the what people are going to think, because people are always going to think something. It doesn't matter. And just keep going. Once you get that first piece done, do the second one, do the 10th one, do the 20th one, do the 30th one. And if you kind of look back over your journey, you can see that it gets better.
Definitely. I love that. When I was coaching other resume writers, I used to tell them, just do it. Hashtag do it. Hashtag DEWIT. So now sometimes in my comments, they're still like, yeah, hashtag do it, because it's like, just do it. I don't want to hear none of this other stuff. I don't care
Yeah.
about these excuses. I don't care about what you think. Do it. Because
Yeah.
I know the magic of doing something and then on the other side of it and like, oh, it wasn't that bad at all.
Yeah.
Right? And if you
Yeah.
could just like she said, get there, do the thing, just
Yeah.
do it. Just do it. And even if it's trash, if it's ugly, if it's like you said, typos, it's done.
It's done. Yeah.
And you can now
And
learn from that experience and the next one will be better. But if you still
yes,
sitting there thinking and wondering and fearful, nothing's happening.
nothing is happening. Yep. Nothing is happening unless you're happening. That's it. Yes, for
Exactly.
sure. Yeah.
So just hashtag do it. And I would say feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yes,
Because at the
absolutely.
end of the day, I mean, even my son, I'm like, he's like, "Oh, I want some water." I'm like, "Go to the store, go get some water. Here goes some money. You got it." He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I don't know." I'm like, "Do it. I don't care. Go. You got this."
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
went, he got the water, he came back. I said, "And how was that?" Actually, wasn't that bad. Of course not. It's just, I don't know. Human
Yeah.
nature is funny like that. We just always want to be extra cautious, right, about
Yeah.
protecting ourselves. But at the end of the day, there's not a whole lot to be protected from sometimes.
Yeah. There's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of it is just our mental. It's just in our
Mhm.
heads, right? So,
Made stuff you made up.
yep. Stuff that we made up. And to be fair, like people in general are not thinking about us as much as we think they're thinking about us. Like they got their own problems, they got their own issues. thinking about how they gonna put food on the table. They're thinking about their own things. And I think if we can just get us out of our heads, like we're not that important. We're not that important. We're not that relevant to anyone else's life unless we make ourselves important and relevant, right? We give them something to think about. We give them something to read. We give them something to listen to, right?
Yeah,
So if we can just understand that people don't care about us as much as we think they care about us. They're not
yeah,
focused on that. Most people not. They don't even see the mistakes of the errors. They don't see all of that,
exactly,
right? It's just a small
exactly,
percentage. And if you can just get it out there, you are way further ahead than 98% of the people who don't put nothing out there.
exactly. You got it.
So, yeah.
And then at the end of the day, people don't want perfect anyway.
People don't want perfect. They are good. They are good with good enough. They are, and they'll get something from it. If you have the faith and courage to like put something out there that's informative and educational and inspirational, or whatever that is for you, like the right people will get something out of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, thank you so much, Danny. This is amazing. I
Yes, this was
appreciate
fun.
you
This was a
for
great
taking the
conversation.
time. Yes, always. It's gonna be lit over here in Power Presence. Okay. But yeah, I definitely appreciate you for taking your time out. I know you're very busy, you got a whole lot going on. But let the people know how they can connect with you before we go.
Yes, for sure. So my podcast is Hashtags and Habits. It's available everywhere on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Listen to it, subscribe, rate, share with a friend, and subscribe to my newsletter. It's hashtagsandhabits.beehive.com. And you could find a lot of my thoughts there. It goes out every Saturday. And so you'll find out a lot of my thoughts there about marketing, about personal development, entrepreneurship, small business world, all of those things. You can reach me there. My email address is hashtagsandhabitspodcast@gmail.com. Always happy to answer any questions that you have about marketing, visibility, any of those things. And happy to chat on a consult if you would like as well. So yeah, that's where you can find out more about what I'm doing and where we can stay in touch.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And for everyone listening, if you enjoyed this episode, feel free to share this out with someone who would benefit from it. Like, subscribe, leave a rating, leave a review. We're everywhere that you can find podcasts. So we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're live on LinkedIn every week. So feel free to engage. Let me know if this episode was helpful for you, if it was inspiring, whatever. Let me know if it was trash. Hey, let me know. So at the end of the day, the name of the podcast, the name of my course, the name of my program is Empowered Presence. Empowered is just the authority to do something, and presence is the state of existing. So basically, you already have the power because you exist. So just show up as who you are and show up authentically and show the people what you can do while staying true to who you are. Thank you so much, guys. Until next time, happy self marketing.